Nobody saw this coming. Not the fans, not the analysts, not even the people inside that building. Cleveland Browns, a franchise that was supposed to be different this time, a team that had the pieces, the payroll, the belief, but somewhere between the promises and the present, something broke. And here's what most people don't see. It didn't break loudly. It didn't break in one game, one play, one headline. It broke quietly, in the moments the cameras never caught, in the conversations that never left that locker room. And right now, the question isn't whether the Browns are struggling. The question is, how deep does this really go? Not long ago, this looked like a different story. The Browns had momentum. They had a defense that made people nervous. They had weapons on offense. They had a front office that talked like a winning organization. From the outside, it looked like Cleveland was finally figuring it out. The fan base started believing again. Season ticket holders renewed. People started circling games on the calendar. And why wouldn't they? Everything looked fine. More than fine. It looked like the pieces were falling into place. But here's the thing about illusions. They're only powerful until you look closely. And when you start looking closely at the Browns, you notice things, small things, things that don't make headlines, things that get buried under injury reports and press conference quotes. But those small things, they were always there. Watch the sideline footage again. Not the plays, not the scoreboard. Watch the faces. Watch the body language between plays, the way certain guys stopped looking at each other, the way some conversations just ended. Watch how the energy shifted on the field, not dramatically, not in one moment, but gradually, like the air slowly leaving a room. There were games where the effort was there, but the urgency wasn't, and that's a dangerous difference, because urgency comes from belief. And belief was starting to feel complicated inside that organization. Practice reports started carrying a different tone. Post-game interviews got shorter. Eyes got more distant. Nobody screamed, nobody flipped tables. That's not how it works. The real warning signs are always quieter than that. It's the guy who stops staying late, the group chat that goes silent, the meeting where nobody pushes back anymore because they've stopped caring enough to argue. Those were the signs, and most people missed them completely. There was a moment, one specific moment, inside the building, behind closed doors, where something shifted permanently. We may never know exactly what was said. We may never know exactly who was in that room. But people who were there, they know. And the energy after that moment was never quite the same. See, in any team environment, any organization, there is one currency more valuable than talent, more valuable than money, more valuable than wins. That currency is trust. And when trust gets damaged, it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't send a press release. It just quietly starts dismantling everything you've built, one relationship at a time, one doubt at a time. The Browns hit that moment, and the scary part, most people on the outside were still celebrating, still believing in the narrative, while inside, the foundation was already cracking. This is where it gets real, because locker rooms are living, breathing things. They have their own energy, their own pulse, and when that pulse changes, players feel it before anyone else does. The veteran guys, the ones who've been through different organizations, they started going quiet. Not angry quiet, withdrawn quiet. That's the most dangerous kind. The younger players started looking around, trying to read the room, taking their cues from the energy of the veterans, and what they found wasn't confidence. Group dinners started happening less. Conversations in the weight room got shorter. The jokes stopped landing the same way. And here's what most people don't see. In a winning locker room, frustration gets channeled. It becomes fuel. But in a fractured locker room, frustration becomes distance, and distance becomes the most expensive thing a team can pay for. Because once players start withdrawing emotionally, you can't scheme your way out of that. You can't coach your way out of that. That has to be healed. And healing takes something this Brown situation may be running out of: time. Here's where most analysts get it wrong. They look at the record, they look at the stats, they point to injuries, to scheme, to execution. And those things matter, but they're not the real damage. The real damage isn't on the stat sheet. The real damage is what's happening inside the minds of the people in that building. Because once doubt sets in at the organizational level, it changes everything. A player who doubts the plan, hesitates on a blitz pickup. A quarterback who doubts the protection, gets happy feet before the pocket collapses. A defensive player who doubts the scheme, second guesses his gap assignment. These aren't physical mistakes. These are belief mistakes. And belief mistakes are invisible to cameras, but they show up in losses. They show up in missed assignments, in bad penalties, in late game collapses that nobody can fully explain afterward. That's the hidden cost of what's happening in Cleveland. It's not about the roster anymore. It's about whether these men genuinely believe they can win together. Right now, that answer is complicated. And here's the part that should worry Browns fans the most. This isn't new. Look back. Look at the patterns this franchise has cycled through. The promise, the investment, the belief. Then, the quiet unraveling. The coaching changes, the front office reshuffling, the players who leave and say carefully chosen words in exit interviews that reveal everything between the lines. Cleveland has been here before, not always in the same way, but the shape of the collapse, it rhymes. And that's what makes this moment so uncomfortable, because the fans have seen this movie. The players have heard the speeches before. And when you've been promised a new chapter, only to find yourself back in the same chapter with different names on the jerseys, the damage isn't just about football anymore. It's about faith. And faith, once lost in an organization, is one of the hardest things in sports to rebuild. The pattern is emerging, slowly, undeniably. And the question now is whether anyone inside that building has the power and the will to break it. Let's break this down clearly, because this isn't just about wins and losses. There is a triangle that determines whether any sports organization thrives or collapses: talent, trust, belief. The Browns have talent. Nobody is arguing that. There are legitimate NFL players on this roster, players who, in the right environment, can make real noise. But talent without trust is just a collection of individuals wearing the same color, and trust without belief is just people going through the motions. Right now, Cleveland has a talent foundation, but the trust layer is fractured, and the belief layer, it's flickering. That is not a recipe for a turnaround. That is a recipe for more of the same, unless something fundamental changes. Not cosmetically, not a press conference, not a new scheme, something real, something that makes the people inside that building look at each other again and actually mean it when they say they believe. That's the standard. And right now, the Browns aren't meeting it. So can they come back from this? Can this organization find the reset button before it's too late? Can the people in that building rebuild what's been quietly torn apart? Maybe. This is football. 1 week can change everything. 1 moment of genuine unity can spark something real. It's happened before in NFL history. Teams have come back from worse. But here's the truth that lives underneath all the highlight reels and the hype. Teams don't collapse in 1 moment. They crack slowly. Then suddenly, everything falls apart. And the Browns, right now, are in the middle of that slow crack. The question isn't whether it's happened. The question is whether they stop it before the sudden. So here's what I want to know from you. Is this Browns situation being overblown, or is something real, something deep, actually happening inside that organization? Because on one side, you could argue injuries, bad luck, a tough schedule. Every team goes through stretches like this. Maybe Cleveland is one healthy roster away from looking completely different. But on the other side, the body language doesn't lie. The patterns don't lie, and the quiet frustration building inside that locker room doesn't lie. So you tell me, drop it in the comments right now. Is this just a rough patch for the Browns, or are we watching something bigger slowly unravel in Cleveland? I'll be reading every single response, and if this video hit different, you already know what to do. Subscribe, share, and let's keep this conversation going. Because in Cleveland, the story is far from over.